How do you create an email list? Why would you want to create an email list of your existing customers? I'm glad you asked. One of the best and most profitable ways to grow your business is by increasing sales to your existing customers and by having events that are coming up that your existing customers will get excited about, and they'll come in and they'll spend even more money more frequently, and they'll bring their friends. One of the ways you do that is by letting them know that you're having events at the store and advertising with an email list. Okay, email lists are easy to create now. In the old days, you had to send a letter, you put it in the mail, and it would wind its way on the back of a pony over to the person's address. They would open it, they would read it. Now we have email. With email, we have these programs such as Microsoft Outlook that you can import your email list from your database, and you can send out an email blast to hundreds of people at a time. That's great. The only problem is people have made it so easy that a lot of people, when they receive an email, they'll look through it, and if they don't recognize who it's from, they'll immediately delete it. How do you get around that problem? I'm glad you asked. Every time you send out an email, it should be frequent but not too frequent, and it should have content. You should really think about what you're putting in there, and on your subject line, always tell who it's from and why you're calling them, why you're sending them this email. Otherwise, you become a spammer, and people hate spam. They like to hear about good news. They don't want to hear about spam. So whenever you do this, you have to get right to the point and tell them this is how it benefits you. If you don't do that, people don't want to hear from you. What are some of the ways that you can get people to allow you to give you their email information? One of the best ways to do this is by having a sign-up list. You're having classes coming up. And these classes, we'll get into that in a little bit, the classes should be something that are directly related to your business. So if you have a garden shop, here's a class on how to do things here in the garden. We'll need to go ahead and get your email information. Boom, 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 boom. You go ahead and you grab that. What would happen if you had a fishbowl? A fishbowl is just what it sounds like. It's about this big, about that size, and people reach into it and they drop in their business cards. They drop in information. Why in the world would they give you that information? I'm glad you asked. What would happen if you say, and the winner of this week's Customer of the Week, Customer of the Month, special drawing will get this special prize? Now, a lot of people like free. In fact, almost everybody likes free. And what you're doing is you're saying, we just want to let you know what's going on. We're going to do every month or so, every couple of weeks, we're going to have a little email blast. Would you like to go ahead and receive that? You ask people for permission. They'll give you their email information. When you do give out these special prizes with this fishbowl, it has to have your name on it. When I was out in Colorado Springs, Pat White, brilliant lady, what she would do is she came up with this great concept of having a promotional shirt. And the front of the shirt was a really nice golf shirt. On the back was the name of the business and the phone number. Come to our business at this address, here's our phone number. It was such a nice shirt, people wore it all the time. Guess what the back of that shirt was? It's a walking billboard. If you give somebody something that's cheap, it's cheap. They're not going to wear it. If it's too garish, if it's too gaudy, if it doesn't add value to them, they're going to throw it away or they're not going to value it. But if you give them something nice, put your name on it. Every time they look at it, I want them to think of you. If you give them something that doesn't have your name on it, every time they use it, they're not going to remember you. So spend a little bit extra and make sure that every time that you give away one of these prizes, that they'll remember this forever. With the email list, you want to do this on a regular basis, but not too often. And what I would suggest is on the subject line, tell who this is coming from. So every time that they get one of your emails, they want to go ahead and see who it's from. I had a friend, Vanjie Berry. She started a real estate company, and every month she would send out this newsletter. And this newsletter was great. You go ahead and read it, and it was funny. It had informative stuff there. It had pictures. It had articles. It was funny. You loved to read it. And on every page, she asked this question: if you know of somebody that needs to buy or sell a house, please remember me. Because they weren't coming into her store every month, she just nudged them. And she reminded them, by the way, I'd really appreciate your help. That's what you want to do. When you send out a newsletter, it wants to be well written and informative. You don't know how to write? You're not a good writer? Go ahead and get a writer from the local college that is a student and pay them $50 for a newsletter. You don't have to be the writer. You just have to have enough ideas to go ahead and get it out there. If you'd like more tips on how to really expand your email list, send this to readbetweenthelines@yahoo.com.